All right, go for it.
Good morning, everyone. It's the one and only Senor Silverback himself with my main man, El Cuco, a.k.a. CJ, the master of the flux capacitor. He's working the airwaves, making sure that this broadcast is coming out squeaky clean. You can follow us on Facebook as well as Twitter at The Rogue Money, and check us out on roguemoney.net, the fastest growing geopolitical website on planet Earth. And and every single podcasting app known to humanity. One of the things that I love, and I keep getting a lot of feedback from a lot of fans, is that we cover the geo with an emphasis on geo more and better than anybody else out there. And I tend to agree with you because there's really not a whole lot. You can count on one hand how many people do what we do. Us, London Paul, Jim Willie, and maybe like 2 or 3 other people. That's about it, man. But we are the tip of the spear. And thank you all for your love, your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you are alerted when new shows are going off. We got a lot of interviews coming up this week, so it's going to be exciting. Later on, CJ is going to announce what we got lined up. So, brace yourself for that one. And today's going to be a great broadcast because there's a lot of things to cover. I've been talking about this since 2012. I've been writing about it since 2012, and now it's here. Okay, now it's here. So, Siege, before we get into the thing, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great. For our listeners, just a quick heads up as far as programming notes. We do have iTunes now is up to date as of the shows for last Friday. So check that out if you're an iTunes fan. And then also, I don't know what I was thinking, V, but over the weekend I completely dropped the ball on getting Helga's weekly live cast up on our platform. So I remembered it last night. I'm like, oh no. So we did get that posted, and she has a lot of information in regards to China, Trump's upcoming visit. So if you have not listened to it yet, go back, listen to it, and more importantly, share that in your network.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely correct. All right, Siege, let's get into it, my man. Let's get into it. Huge, devastating, paradigm-altering news that is occurring while the rest of the country is focused on. What are we focused on these days? I don't even know anymore. Is it the NFL still? Is that still trending? I'm not sure. What sideline issue are Americans concerned with? I'm not sure. Is it the dossier? I don't know. Is it the malarkey and the madness of day-to-day U.S. politics? I'm not aware of it. But Siege, here's some devastating, paradigm-altering news that affects all of us. And yours truly has only been writing about this for the several years, last 5 years to be exact. And it's finally here. It's finally here. V, how come you don't give predictions anymore? Well, I kind of laid everything out. Now it's just a wait and see. Let's just wait and see what happens. I don't need to give any more predictions. I already gave all the predictions I needed to predict have already been predicted. Okay, so now it's just to sit back and wait. I had a fan, CJ, that actually collected my first writings I've ever done that were posted on the internet in various blogospheres. Having that posted, and I was able to, he collated all of it and put together. I went back and I started just reading the stuff I wrote years ago, and I'm sitting there in shock, being like, "Holy crap! If somebody from the future were to read my writings from back then, they would have thought that I was Nostradamus." Okay, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but this is what I'm talking about. Were there things that I got wrong? Hell yes, I got a lot of things wrong, but were there things that I got right? You damn Skippy. And this is one of those things, CJ. Bro, the fat lady, 4 weeks ago, when you and I reported that China is going to launch a Petroyuan back with a gold standard, I said the fat lady is clearing her throat. Today, CJ, it has been announced. The fat lady's no longer clearing her throat, buddy. She's belting out tunes. CJ, start this up, and I'm going to jump into it, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I specifically remember listening several years ago in regards to your entire forecast. You know what we should do is we should take those and we need to publish that, V. That's what we should do.
We need to. We need to. Absolutely correct. It was called the V files.
Yeah. So
I had a fan compile all of it together, call it the V files, and gave it to me. And I'm reading through this. I'm like, holy crap! This could be a trends journal, a real trends journal. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. Go ahead, Siege.
yeah. So it's out. China is officially set in a couple of months, V, to launch the Petroyuan.
And how many months, brother?
So it's here.
2 months.
So it's here.
Yep.
So,
No,
in
2 months. In 2 months.
2 months, yes.
In 2 months. In 2 months, the United States dollar is going to wake up and crap the bed. It's going to soil itself. Okay? It's going to soil itself. And here's the thing. Okay? The writing's on the wall. The writing is on a wall. And for the last several decades, the theme of the entire multipolar world can be surmised into a statement that Vladimir Putin has once said. He said, Russia shares the BRICS countries' concerns over the unfairness of global financial and economic architecture. What the hell is he talking about? He's talking about the king dollar system, where if you're a country and you don't play and bend over and spread them for the United States to rape you anally, okay, in an economic, geostrategic, and military kind of way, if you don't bend over and allow yourself and your country to be sodomized by U.S. foreign policy, then you will be sanctioned. You will be cut off because the entire world was reliant on the SWIFT system in order to pay for goods and trade and services and whatnot. They needed to go through SWIFT. And SWIFT is only cleared through one place. That is the Fedwire. So if the United States sanctions SWIFT and says, don't let Iran participate, don't let Zimbabwe, don't let West Bumble Hoo-Ha, okay, or Swaziland, whatever, okay, don't let them participate, then all of a sudden, no soup for you. Okay? All of a sudden, you are cut off from the world. Your economy's killed. Your people are going to starve to death, and there could be an economic riot, and you could be overthrown in a coup. Okay? From angry citizens, from angry individuals that are in your country. That's what would happen to a typical country unless they're resourceful, like Cuba, like Iran, like, for all intents and purposes, North Korea. That was the game being played on the world stage for the last several decades. Rather than us being a benevolent superpower that did things to help foster a multipolar world, that helped foster fair and equitable trade, that helped foster the advancement of human civilization, what we have done from a foreign policy standpoint, because our foreign policy, it is schizophrenic. It is not only psychotic, it is schizophrenic. Okay? So our schizophrenic, psychotic foreign policy has done over the last 30 some odd, 40, 50 some odd years is overthrow over 30 democratically elected governments globally. First, we sodomized them economically by cutting them off from the SWIFT and the Fedwires. Second, we went in and ravaged and pillaged them of their resources. That is what we've been doing. And ever since then, we've been racking up a body count, the likes of which the world has yet to see. That all ends when Vladimir Putin framed that comment, an unfair global and economic architecture which does not give due regard to the growing weight of emerging economies. Folks, the action, the life, the pulse, the vibrancy of human and economic development is not something that is found in the G7. The G7 that the gorilla calls the insolvent seven. You will not find the life pulse of human development there in the G7. You will find it in the G20. And that is what Putin is saying here, right? It is what he's saying. It does not have any regard to the growing weight of the emerging economies. We are ready to work with our partners to promote international financial regulation reforms and to overcome the excessive domination of the limited number of reserve currencies. Okay? This is huge news. That was the primer. That was the primer that set into play everything that the Sino-Russian nexus have been accomplishing. And now, with the announcement that Beijing is about to change the game forever, your life, my life, our lives are about to change. And it's about to change in a major way. And it does not matter what Russian dossier, who peed on what bed. It doesn't matter how many women on periods that Harvey Weinstein was going down on. It doesn't matter how many back-end crooked deals that crooked Hillary has done. It doesn't matter because your life is about to change, and that change doesn't happen with individuals from within your nation, but it happens with economic forces that are far beyond your control, my control, and it's sure as hell beyond the control of the criminals in Washington, D.C. China will launch their crude oil futures contract priced in yuans, okay, which means that the entire Eurasian trade zone, which means RCEP, okay, which means SCO, which means Global South, the Gulf states, all of them will be integrated to the yuan gold price standard as well as the yuan of the Petroyuan. The game is over. The game is over. This, okay, folks, this is not only going to crush U.S. sanctions. This is not only going to decimate the dollar as the king dollar, but allowing people to use their own currency convertible in yuan. And if you don't want the yuan, you can have gold. You can have gold, and it's fully convertible on both the Shanghai and the Hong Kong gold exchanges. I've called my contacts there. They are excited. They are pumped up. The world is about to change. I've said this a long time ago, folks. You will wake up in America, just like many of the ancestors of people there, many of our ancestors. Okay, even those who the ancestors that woke up on the continent of Europe and woke up over 100 some odd years ago and said, hey, you know what? There is not a damn job worth me working here. There's not a damn quality of life that I need here. Let me get on a boat. Let me go to the land of opportunity. The same paradigm-altering move is about to happen. Okay? When the Roman Empire collapsed, it ended in Rome. The people continued to live. You know what the people of the Roman Empire did? They left the empire. They lived among the quote-unquote barbarians. Why? Because the barbarians had a more free, more equitable trade. The barbarians weren't as tyrannical and wanted to squeeze every single penny out of the citizenry like the Roman government wanted. The same will happen to the United States. And now, CJ, now the whole world has changed in 2 months. Get ready, folks. Get ready.
Yeah, very well said, V. I mean, it's the result of a systematically taking apart, and it's not only China. When you take a look at the de-dollarization that's occurring around the globe, we have had several discussions around several other countries doing this exact same thing, and this kind of officially is kind of the nail in the coffin in terms of away from the entire petrodollar. Forget about OPEC. The world as we know it is about ready to completely change.
Yep, absolutely correct. It is a win-win-win-win-win scenario for the entire world. You don't want to convert in yuan? Have gold. Let's get into equitable trade relations. Instead of China going and Russia going out to blow out countries in the African continent, they're working to develop them. They're pulling hundreds of millions of people. Like, I love when people come up to me. Oh, well, yeah, it's China. They don't have any economic freedom like we do. Your middle class, you dumb American, is decimated. It's gone. China just pulled close to 700 million people out of poverty. You tell me, what's the fair and equitable system? 700 million out of poverty. And we can't even build a freaking wall. 700 million pulled out of poverty, and we are somehow in Niger. We have troops in Niger. Like, what the hell is wrong with us? Sorry about that, man. I am fired up, bro.
No, no, it's definitely in terms of the shift. Yeah, I completely see it. And we marked also be taking a look at the entire leadership, but take a look at how the U.S., our political parties, our expansion of military across the globe has contributed to the demise of the United States. And exactly on time in regards to their recent move with President Xi Jinping in terms of his leadership, global leadership, and at the same time, you benchmark that against what's happening here in the United States. Very exciting time to be witnessing and to be alive through this.
Absolutely. And so, the situation continues. We are entering the dragon while we're exiting the duck. We are the lame duck. We are the lame duck superpower. The United States is going to be over as a world power, and we're entering the era of the dragon. There was a time in human history when China was over 50 some odd % of the global GDP. We are re-entering again that era where global trade and global commerce is going to be predicated on Chinese involvement. China never dominated another nation in that regard. They don't have their aspiration is just to be the Middle Kingdom, not to be some stupid British Empire model wannabe hack that the United States has thought it was a brilliant idea to follow in the British footsteps and having an empire. It didn't end well for the Brits. It's sure as hell not going to end well for us. Unreal. Anyway, man, moving on forward. The GOP aligned with the banks and DC lobbyists. Of course, there's no surprise there. CJ, why don't you talk about how the Senate is voting to kill the new rule to allow class action lawsuits against banks?
Yeah, this is just another. Yeah, this is just another perfect example of how our legislatures are so aligned with the lobbyists, with the special interest. So recently we watched. Yesterday, Mike Pence made a deciding vote in terms of a rule that would have allowed consumers to join together either individually or join together to sue banks. And why that's important, is because for so long, the banks, think of Wells Fargo with their fraud, the fraudulent accounts that were created. Think of all the events that have happened. And yesterday, the GOP aligned with the big banks, and Mike Pence was the deciding factor in this vote. Now, their reasoning behind this is get this, okay? They're concerned that with the amount of potential lawsuits that consumers perhaps could have, class action lawsuits against the banks, that it could perhaps put the banks in economic harm.
Good. See, they need to see. This is my point. Can you idiots in DC just come out and admit it? Can you just come out and admit that the banks are pretty much have all the benefits of nationalization? They get all the profits. They have none of the risks. They get bailed out by the taxpayer. You can't sue them. You can't take them down. You can't break them up. You can't do anything. They have all the benefits of nationalization without none of the risks. They have all the benefits of nationalization without none of the trappings of nationalization. I mean, just come out and admit it. I mean, for the love of God, you're not going to go after Wells Fargo. You're not going to allow people to sue Wells Fargo from all the fraud they've done. You know, one of my partners, Frank, just he texted me like 2 days ago, and he sent me a text message that one of his accounts is his business accounts is with Wells Fargo, and he texted me an image of an online it was an online screen grab of Wells Fargo's mobile website, and he did some sort of transaction, and it says Wells Fargo North American ass. Instead of assets, it says North American ass. That's exactly what Wells Fargo is. The North American ass. Okay? And they are not punished for creating millions of fake accounts through which they go to the Fed window. They borrow, excuse me, hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even billions, we don't even know, from the Fed window at 0% interest. They flood these tens of millions of accounts that they've created, these fake accounts, with $100 in each one of those checking accounts, or even more. And then they rehypothecate them and use and play them in the derivative market. So they leverage them out 140%, and then they rehypothecate it up to 140%. Okay, so that $100 becomes $240. Okay, and then what they do after that is go ahead and play it on the derivative market. They leverage that out 40, 50 times. So these millions of accounts become hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars on the derivatives market. That's the collateral they're using in order to create the liquidity that they lack, because Wells Fargo, like other zombie institutions like JP Morgan, Citi, they're all insolvent. They are all insolvent. There's a solvency crisis. They're all insolvent. Okay, this is the way. The thing is with Wells, they don't have the power play that JP Morgan has, because their CEO is not as as criminal and ruthless as Jamie Dimon. Okay, nobody can sue them. Nobody can do anything. And Mike Pence, aka Race Bannon from Johnny Quest, okay, went ahead and casted the deciding vote to stop this horrible thing from happening, because we're worried about the banks. The banks are the problem, Mike.
Yeah, the bailouts. Think of the bailouts. Think of the $1 million bonuses that were paid out, and they felt good about accepting those bonuses. V. Think about all the illegal foreclosures that happened. Think of the amount of criminality that existed. Think of the fines that were paid out to the Justice Department, but yet a consumer who is either their accounts are illegally seized, or they're closed, or worse yet, their fraudulent accounts that are opened up in their names without their knowledge, they remain no ability at all to launch any kind of offensive to counter a lawsuit against the bank. So again, this just it just exposes it all regarding the federal government, everything that's involved regarding the corruption. The entire DC thing is just a complete swamp, V, and it's not going to change.
Absolutely correct, man. Rogue Money was way ahead on this, CJ, and now the truth grows mainstream. Go ahead, brother, break it down.
Yeah, just real quick. So it finally comes out. We covered this months ago in regards to the dossier that was issued against Trump. And you mentioned it earlier, V. And now it comes out that finally, the truth comes out regarding the fact that Hillary Clinton and the DNC paid for the research that was conducted for this investigation by Fusion GPS under the British. I believe his name was Steele, right? That made this publication. Christopher Steele. And who was it funded by? Hillary Clinton and the DNC.
Aha! There's no there's no bad motives there whatsoever. I'm sure Hillary is just trying to get to the bottom of the truth, because she cares about truth for the American public. She is the vanguard of truth. She's the avatar of truth. She's the personification of truth, and that's why Hillary Clinton did what she had to do, because she cares about all of us, CJ. I'm sure that's the reason why. Unreal. Anyway, the fat lady's now singing another tune. Vlad Putin, the man, El Jefe himself, the only world leader that has done more to kick the nuts of the globalists more than any other man in world history. And I would like to call him the savior of civilization. Vlad Putin lays down the rules for cryptocurrencies. And if you haven't gotten a chance, there's 5 major frameworks of this rule. And I like it. And let me tell you one of the things that you'll have a hard time doing, which is rule number 1: minors will have to register with the state to pay taxes on gains. That's going to be very difficult to regulate, but it's fine. It's a rule book. It's he understands. You got to put up there for political reasons, whatever. There's no way you're going to collect all the taxes. It's going to be possible. Can't do it. Number 2: cryptocurrencies will be fit into the existing legal framework of the Russian financial system. ICO's initial coin offerings will get rules handed down by the legislative branch and the Bank of Russia, which is good. It brings legitimacy, so you're not dumping your retirement money into something called Flopcoin, and then Flopcoin flops, and then you're wondering why Flopcoin flopped. That's dangerous. You want to make sure that these ICOs and these coins are actually doing something. They actually have value. They're not something stupid because some jerky boy somewhere decided to feel witty and create a stupid coin. You don't want that. Number 4 rules: a sandbox environment will be established to test new technologies with the Bank of Russia before being deployed. That's pretty awesome. A framework will be put in place for a regional cross-border payment system with the rest of the Eurasian Economic Union. Members of Kazakhstan, Armenia, Kyrgyzstan, and Belarus. So all this, I mean, for a guy like me who's a decentralized anarcho-capitalist, I don't care about these rules. But for the general public, a guy like me will look at these rules and will find a million and one ways to skirt them. For the general public, it's a good thing because it lends legitimacy. You might not like it. If you're an anarcho-capitalist like me, you might not like it. You might think it's dumb. You might think it's totalitarian. You might think whatever. But the point is for them to even offer up a rubric, a rule, an understanding, a means of transacting, a platform to give legitimacy to, is still, CJ, miles and away ahead of the rest of the entire United States. And CJ, can you hold on 1 second? It seems like I have a delivery at my office. Continue to talk, bro.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, absolutely. It's very forward thinking in terms of you benchmark that, what Vladimir Putin is doing in Russia versus the United States, where we don't have a clear policy of what is happening or may happen. Framework has been built the way that they are looking at the cryptocurrency space and how it's going to evolve in Russia, and the event that, think of it this way: how many U.S. citizens, when they go to travel to Europe, to Mexico, how many of those consumers will purposely go into the bank to buy a foreign currency, to transact and to purchase or sell currency from travel? With the crypto space, Russia understands that this can be utilized for trade, simply to deal with the banking rules, the banks, exchanging currency amounts. With the cryptos, it allows that framework for a cross-border payment system, important for the Eurasian Economic Union and its growth. So yes, so in the United States, will we see some type of policy, some type of the how the crypto space will be viewed? We will at some point. We will at some point, but more than likely, similar to the story we just covered, this is going to be focused a lot on the banks, the control of the monetary system, and how they can keep consumers from leveraging the different cryptocurrencies that are available. So yeah, it's a good play. It's a good play by Russia. Very forward thinking on Russia and Vladimir Putin's part. V, are you back yet? Okay, I want to jump into another story real quick, and this is in regards to Steve Wozniak, who is a Apple co-founder, and he's also a mathematician by training, and he has came out to give his views on Bitcoin, and he believes it is far superior both as a medium and a store of value for one crucial reason, and that it's mathematically determined to supply 21 million coins, making it impossible to dilute the existing supply and making it even more secure. So again, this is completely gone. In an interview on CNBC, he talked about cryptocurrency, about Bitcoin, about the future of payments, transactions, and of course of how this is going to work. And quote unquote, what he came out to say was that amount of Bitcoin that can ever exist. Gold gets mined and mined and mined. Maybe there's a finite amount of gold in the world, but Bitcoin is even more mathematical and regulated, and nobody can change mathematics. So there it is. It's evolving. We're seeing the crypto space evolve, where now it's even going more mainstream. It's catching on. So the times are changing quickly, and I know for several of you who still the gold, the silver, I think the most important part of this message is to ensure that you are diversifying at this point, in particular with everything that's going on around the globe currently. Want to jump into another amazing story, and this is really bombshell in regards to an NSA memo that specifically came out to announce that the attacks that occurred in Syria in regards to their airports, in regards to some of their civilian areas, were specifically ordered and carried out by the Saudis. Now, this memo came forth from part of the information that Edward Snowden provided, that the Damascus International Airport, and why this is important in terms of this document, that for the first time that it shows that the U.S., the NSA, knew days in advance of this attack that was orchestrated by Prince Salman bin Sultan, who is currently the defense minister there in Saudi Arabia. So again, this is okay. Welcome back, V.
Yeah, keep talking.
Yeah, just jumping in, V, into this bombshell showing that Saudi Arabia ordered the attack on Damascus International Airport with U.S. knowledge.
Oh yeah,
that Edward Snowden provided. So again, the information is coming out. The truth is starting to finally come out, what is happening, and so excited to see this happening.
Yep, absolutely, man. And excuse me if I'm a little winded. I had to
stairs and everything, right?
Yeah, man. I was running up the stairs. I had to move some heavy objects from the delivery, move it into the storage, then run back up. So that's what happened. Anyway, absolutely. I will go so far as to say that not only did the Saudi Arabians attack the airport in Syria, but they were granted the blessings of Uncle Sam. And the U.S. deep state ensured and gave the blessings to the operation for the Saudis to go ahead and do this. And the Saudis know that they're going to be thrown under the bus. That is why they are realigning with the entire Eastern Bloc. That is why they are realigning with Russia and China. Now, 3 days ago, who'd you have on TV all over the place? Saudi Prince Alawid, right? Alawid, famous for saying that Donald Trump will never be president, right? That prince, okay? What was he saying? Everybody else caught, he's talking about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is like Enron. Well, he's an idiot. He's telling you Bitcoin's like Enron. Actually, he's smart. He's telling you Bitcoin is like Enron. Meanwhile, he holds several Bitcoins. Several thousand Bitcoins he probably owns. Okay? So don't take his word for it. Actually, do take it. Whatever he's telling you to do the opposite. And that's exactly what he's doing. All right? Now, Alawid made a certain comment that many in the mainstream press has missed, but it is a theory that I put forth out there before anybody else. I said that the sale of Saudi Aramco and their IPO is going to go to China. China is going to own a piece of Saudi Aramco. What did Prince Alawid say on that interview on CNBC and on Bloomberg Business and whatnot? He said this: I can see China owning parts of Saudi Aramco. In order for that to happen, folks, you bet your bottom dollar with the new Petroyuan gold standard that's coming. Where do you think this IPO, this energy, basically it's an energy company. Where do you think the IPO is? And then people who don't know any better will say, well, V, they're going to have to do it here in the New York Stock Exchange because we're the most liquid market in the world. No. You're the most illiquid market in the world. You're a stock market with a 400% increase in insider trading and stock buybacks. You are a stock market with a 600% increase in margin lending. Okay? You're not a real market. You're an illiquid market. You're a fake market. You're a market that's completely rigged with computer algorithms, high frequency trading. Where is an energy company going to go and put out their IPO? It's going to go to China, man. That's where it's all pointing towards. If it doesn't, I'll be surprised. But if I were to make a bet, that's where I'd put it. So big changes that are coming, Siege. Big changes, brother.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And that's
All
a
right.
wrap.
Yep, that's a wrap, my man. That is a wrap. With that being said, we'll Siege. We got another interview coming up.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to be covering and doing an interview with Meriglim, and Meriglim is the new startup by Jim Rickards, and Meriglim is using some of the technology that Jim helped develop in terms of the post 9/11, where they took a look at the financial threats, the adverse and tactical strategy developments that occurred at that time, and launching a company to take a look at those algos, predictive, almost cliff high type technology. So we're going to be interviewing their CEO, Kevin Massengale,
Cool.
a couple of hours, V.
Awesome. Fantastic. With that being said, folks, again, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, show your love and support, share us. We are the voice of global economics, global geostrategic, global news. At the end of the freaking day, it's the news that matter, and it's the news that affects your pocketbook and your bank account. Subscribe and share, like us on Twitter, on Facebook, and all the other stuff. Download our podcast. There are tens of thousands of people that download our podcasts every week. Go forth. We're everywhere. That being said, we're over and out. Take it away, brother.